What do authors like Amanda Hocking, R.L. Stine, and Agatha Christie have in common? An author brand. They are all known for a specific writing style, not just their genre. So today I want to talk about why you need an author brand and how to build one. If you want to reach the level of success like authors like Stine and Christie, other big names such as Stephen King, you need an author brand too. Author brands make you recognizable as a writer, which is super important. They help you stay consistent, and they're a way for you to appeal to and market to your ideal reader. So we're going to talk about how you can start your author brand now, even if you haven't published anything yet. And if you hang on until the end of this video, I'll tell you how you can get a readership checklist. This is a worksheet guide that will help you build your author brand, get started on your email list, do all of those beginner things that will help in the long run if you start them now. This is Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. Let's start with what a brand does for an author. Your author brand makes you predictable in a good way. It means when a reader picks up one of your books, they somewhat know what to expect. They know what they're getting into. This could be because of the way you write, the genre you write in, or something else about how you choose to approach your books. But readers are going to choose to read your next book because of that thing that you do so well. Your brand, like I said, also makes you recognizable. This is key for two reasons. One, if someone likes your work, you want them to recognize it when they come across it in the store. So you need to be somewhat consistent in that way. And two, people like to feel like they're a part of something. When you develop an author brand, you give them a thing to be a part of that's related to your writing. The extreme example of this is Harry Potter. Harry Potter fans really want to feel like they are a part of that world. The author created a brand around her book series. So, when you create an author brand, you give your readers an opportunity to feel like they belong to something. Another benefit to an author brand is it gives you the opportunity to create an author persona. This can include a pen name or not. An author persona is great for people who are a little bit more private. They don't want to share a bunch of information about their personal life, but we still want to be authentic as authors. So our author persona is a facet of ourselves. It's the pieces of ourselves we're willing to share with the general public. For example, I only share surface level stuff about my relationships because I don't really feel that's the public's business as much. I also never post a picture on my branded social media without the permission of the other people in that picture. So if I take a picture with my roommate, my mom, something like that, I always ask them if it's okay for me to post it first. That's courteous. I want to make sure they're okay with being included in that. Your author persona might mean that you talk about your pets, but not your kids as much. It might mean you're willing to share a whole lot, but you have this one line. It might mean that you're not willing to share very much, so you talk about your hobbies, the things that you enjoy in life. The nice thing about that author persona and brand is it puts you in control. When you create your brand and your persona, you are deciding what you're willing to show to the world and what you're willing to keep for yourself. So it's beneficial to you, and again, it makes you recognizable. It gives your readers something to join. So that's why you might want an author brand. Next, I want to share key components of your author brand. So these components are good starting places. They're a good baseline, but it's not everything that goes into developing an entire brand. A full brand is a huge undertaking. I'm not recommending you do that right away. Maybe eventually you'll get there as an author. But these are the basic key components that you should figure out fairly early on in your writing process and career as an author. So first, You need to decide what is your writing style and themes that you might want to be known for. Most people immediately think genre here. That's fine. You might want to be known for writing dragons or awesome fight scenes. But your author theme can be a bit broader than that or not tied to genre. Maybe you are known for plot twists or elegant prose. Maybe you like to write about revenge. That can also be a part of your author brand. Stephen King does this. Yes, he's known for writing horror, but he's also known for making the towns, the setting of his stories, an integral character in themselves. His setting is a character as well as the other people in his books. That's something that he's known for that is not tied to genre. So if you want to write multiple genres, see if there's another way that you can tie your writing together. What's your style? What themes do you work with that you can become known for so that people will be willing to read cross genres with you? You also want to articulate a bit about your writing style. Are you into fast-paced thrillers, page-turners, books that people can't stop reading? Or do you like to tug on people's heartstrings and really make them feel your books? That's a part of your style as well. So for example, I love playing with point of view and perspective. It's one of my favorite parts of writing. So that's a part of my writing style. So is playing with form. So your writing style is also a piece of that author brand. That's the first major component you need to figure out. It can change and morph over time, and it's not necessarily something you're going to write down and shove in people's faces right away, but it's something you need to know so that when you're creating your marketing copy, your social media posts, your website, you can use it to inform your design decisions. Similarly, you also need to know who your ideal reader is. Now, your ideal reader should be a very specific person. You can even base it off of someone you know. I interviewed some of my friends who read the genre I write to find out more about how they make their buying decisions. How do they choose the books they choose to read instead of choosing other books? When you're figuring out your ideal reader, you're going in depth. So it's not just what genre do they read, what writing style do they like, how old are they? Yes, you do need to know those basics too, but you also need to know what's their socioeconomic status. Where do they live? What places do they like to read about in their books? What's their home life like? What's their daily life like? So you need to know more about them personally because that's going to tell you where they find books and how they buy them. In business, we call this our ideal client, and a lot of business owners actually give them a name. I don't have a name for mine yet, but my ideal reader, she's female, she's in her late 20s. She is from New Mexico, so she likes to see a little bit of the desert in her books, but she also likes reading about other places. She loves reading about different types of people. She's from the working class. That's important because it means she can't afford to buy books. She's not always getting them from the library. And she's not always pirating them because she can afford them. She's also not super wealthy. She's middle class. She's working. She is in a committed relationship but not married, doesn't have kids. That means she does have time to read. So that's a little bit of what you need to know about your ideal reader. I have a whole worksheet that I filled out to figure out who mine is, and I've included some of those points in that handout that you'll get at the end of this video. So those are the two major things you need to know. What's your writing style and who is your ideal reader? Now here's a list of some good starting places for building your author brand. Again, you need your writing theme and style, your ideal reader, your personality. What do you like? What do you find attractive? What would you be okay with attaching to you and your books? So you want to include a little bit of your personality when you're designing your author brand. If you're funny, be funny. If you're more serious, be serious. If you're heartfelt, be heartfelt. If you're kind, be kind. Include your personality in your author brand. Fonts. I recommend starting with 2. You want one fancy font for titles and things like that, and one font that's easy to read. Readability is huge when we're marketing. You want to pick an appealing color palette. I recommend starting with 2 main colors and then a third color for accents. If you're building a true author brand, you're going to have more colors than that. But this is a good starting place. So for example, my editing and writing business, the 2 main colors are 2 different shades of blue, and the accent color is purple. On my author website, my main color is purple and a dark green, and the accent color is a light yellow goldy color. Then you need to decide what image style you want to use for your graphics. So these are going to be pictures you post on social media, your website, banners, flyers, any sort of thing like that. You just need to decide what your image style is. Is it super blocky text? Is it bright, vibrant colors? Do you prefer black and white images only? You like the grayscale? Do you like pastel colors? That's your image style. Maybe you only do photographs, or maybe you draw your own things and you only use your own drawings. You just need to make a decision there. For Ignited Ink writing, my image style is emotional and vibrant. I like images that when you look at it, it makes you feel something, and I find these through free image sites. You're of course going to need an author photo. This needs to be professionally done, not in a slightly out of focus selfie you took, because you're going to use this author photo everywhere. Some optional components are a logo. This can be fun. So if you can't afford to spend like $50 or so on a logo, I enjoyed creating mine for my business, but you don't actually need one. An author persona, again, that's optional. A tagline is also optional. So my tagline for Ignited Ink writing is Ignite Your Ink. I also say transform your writing so it lingers with and impacts your readers. That's another tagline that I have. I don't have a tagline as an author. I do sign my books, May Your Tale Be Filled with Magic, so that could eventually become a tagline. So that's a general list. I recommend just going through and making one choice a day or something like that. You don't need to do it all at once. And even though it looks like a lot, it really doesn't take that long for you to make these decisions, which is what you're doing. You're making the decisions. You're not creating a whole bunch of stuff with this right away. There is one theme, though, throughout this list, and that's consistency. The point in making these choices now and early on is to be consistent, because when you're consistent, you're recognizable. That's important. Yes, you can change your brand. It can morph over time, but you don't want to change it too often, because if you do, you lose that recognizability. You lose that consistency. So we're trying to pick colors and fonts and images that both fit our writing style and that will appeal to our ideal reader. So I love the curly script thing, which is okay for fantasy readers, but it's more associated with romance. So when I picked a curly font, I tried to pick one that was a bit more whimsical, less romantic, and I made sure that my color palette was then very fantasy inspired and not also leaning towards romance, because I didn't want to attract romance readers when I write fantasy. So I picked something that I like, but I also made sure it appealed to my ideal reader. Let's look at an example of what this looks like from one of those big name authors. This is R.L. Stine's logo. His name is spelled with bones. His colors are dark blues with a mint green as his accent color. His imagery on his website is bold, but it's not gory or creepy. R.L. Stine writes horror for middle graders. So his author brand needs to be horror leaning, but not terrifying. These are children. Also, Stine is quite funny. I've met him in person. He used to write joke books, and there's a certain element of humor even in his horror books. So that humor comes across a little bit in his author brand. So that's R.L. Stine. If we were to look at another author like Amanda Hocking, her colors are white with a periwinkle blue and purple. It's much lighter feeling, which meshes with her audience and her writing style. She writes fantasy for young adults. So it's different than R.L. Stine's. Once you've made these decisions for your author brand, you want to use these branding choices everywhere. You're using the same fonts on your website, on your emails, in your social media posts, in any flyers or bookmarks you create. You're using the same author photo in all of these places. You're using those same colors, that same image style. Again, this is for consistency and recognizability. If I go to follow you on Facebook and decide I really like you and want to go find you on Instagram too, I should be able to tell that it's your Instagram and your Facebook based on these things. I should know I'm in the right place because you're using that same photo. You're using the same fonts and colors. They should feel like they belong together. Now, if you have a personal social media page, do whatever you want with that. But for your business things, for your author pages, they need to be consistent. But these are the key components for your author brand. Once you establish this, it's a good building foundation that you can use for the rest of your branding, your marketing, your recognizability. Next, I want to share an editor and author's tips for building your brand. When you're building your brand, you might want to do what I did and ask friends and family who read what you write. So you're not just generally asking everyone. You might just say, hey, does this look good? But you really want to pay attention to the friends and family members you have who read your genre and your style of writing, because they're closer to your ideal reader. If you have beta readers, if you have fans already, ask them what they're attracted to, and you can use that information to build your author brand. Again, you do still want to pick things that you actually like, so ask. Don't be afraid to do a poll. Ask people. Then, don't build your author brand around a book or series. I see so many authors do this. They publish their first book, they love the cover, they're super excited, so they use that for their author branding. And then they write a new book or a new series, and it needs a different cover, and it doesn't align with that author branding. Well, now it's hard to tell if that book belongs to them or not. Your books should complement your author brand, your cover, the style that you pick for them, but they shouldn't be the dictating force that determines what your author brand is. Your author brand should be up here, and your books should fit underneath it nicely. Now, if you're only going to write one book or one series, then sure, you can build your author brand around that. But most of us plan on doing more books that are not so connected, and so building our author brand around just one of them isn't going to work very well. That's why I really don't recommend having your primary author book site be your book title. You can still buy that domain, but have it point to an author website that's your name. It might be your name author or yournamewriter.com. But don't have it just be your book title, because then when you write more books, how are people supposed to find you? So think in the long term when you're making these branding decisions. Now, I know that this might not be the fun part of writing. Maybe you love the written word more. But author branding can be fun to figure out if you think of it as a creative project. Think of it as a part of your books, as a part of who you are as an author. You can even think of building your persona as building a character, if you would like. Have fun with this. It'll feel less like work when you do. What is your core theme or style that you might want to build your brand around? Share it in the comments below. And for more videos on finding your readers and other aspects of writing, subscribe to Ignited Ink Writing, a channel dedicated to helping authors like you transform your writing so it lingers with your readers. Because writing that lingers gets remembered and recommended to others. I'm Caitlin Burvey, editor and writer. To find out more about me and see my editing and writer brand, go to ignitedinkwriting.com. That's also where you will find a readership building checklist. This is a worksheet that will help you develop your author brand, get started on your email list, your social media, do everything that you need to do to find your readers. And it's a step-by-step checklist. You don't need to complete it all at once, but it will help you do that. I'll also link to it in the comments below. And if you want to see my author brand, maybe compare how my editing business and my author business look like they're from the same person, but appeal to two different audiences, you can check out that author website caitlinburvey.com. That's where you'll find my books, and you can see how they're different, how one is definitely appealing to fantasy readers and one is appealing to authors. And now it's your turn to figure out your writing theme and style, your ideal reader, and everything else that goes into your author brand to ignite your ink.